Hello, thank you for joining me. I'm talking today about one of the most powerful organizations in India. On August 15th, in his Independence Day speech, Prime Minister Modi described this organization as the world's largest NGO and commended its members for their dedicated service to the nation. 100 years later, the RSS or the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh has been banned 3 times and yet survived to imprint its ideology on the current political dispensation. How did it get here? How did it survive? How has it evolved? What are its goals going forward? I'm going to find out, and I'm going to get to know a little bit more about this organization that is exerting so much influence in India at this point of time by talking to Dinesh Narayanan. He's a journalist and author of this book, RSS and the Making of the Deep Nation.
Hello, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Dinesh, thank you for joining me and making the time. Prime Minister Modi, in his Independence Day speech, described the RSS as the world's largest NGO. What do you make of that description? How would you describe the RSS?
It's very difficult to describe the organization itself, but the way they describe it, if a pracharak introduces to somebody what they do, they would say that we are into nation building, and we are into building what they term as man making or character building in people, or building good citizens of a nation, not necessarily the state, because the RSS rejects the idea of the nation state. It says the nation is bigger and nation is what it believes in. Um, so, according to them, this country is a Hindu nation, Hindu Rashtra, as they call it. It always was and it always will be. And their objective, so to say, is to instill this in every person in the country, every citizen, every person who's a resident of this country, to acknowledge that this is a Hindu nation and that they're all part of it, irrespective of their faith, creed, sex, whatever it is. And they would never ever do anything which would bring disrepute or in any way put it in harm's way, the Hindu nation.
So, this idea of the Hindu nation, uh, Hinduism, from the way I see it, is diverse. There are many sources, there are many kinds, there are many sects, there are many beliefs. But when the RSS says that it is about creating a Hindu nation and all its members are dedicated to creating a Hindu nation, what is this ideal Hindu nation that it is talking about?
So it's quite interesting that the RSS is not talking about Hinduism per se, not the faith, or the Hindu faith, or the different sects and different kinds of practices and rituals and other kinds of communities which form this larger, what we could probably call the larger Hinduism, Hindu faith. What they mean by that is something called Hindutva, which is Hindu-ness, or a sense of being a Hindu, which is part of a cultural tradition which is millennia old or multi-millennia old. And they, so it begins from Savarkar's Essentials of Hindutva, and Savarkar defined it as the day King Ram went all the way from Ayodhya down to Lanka and came back and completed his journey. That is the day he wove together this entire population into one single Hindu nation, and that is what is known as the Hindu nation, and all the people residing in this place. Now, um, in that narrative, there is also in that narrative and that kind of historiography, there is also this part where it has been attacked several times, it has been invaded several times, it has been dominated several times by other faiths, other cultural influences, other cultural uh, or other kind of nationalisms like the British nationalism, British colonialism, all of it. And it has interrupted the Hindu nation in politically, but not culturally. Culturally, the thread has remained for several millennia, and it continues to inform and enrich this country. That's what they believe in, and that is what the central tenet around which the organization is built, its activities are built.
So the thing is that you're saying it's not about religion, it's about a
It
Hindu
is not.
civilization and Hindu culture. But it does seem to be predicated as being anti-Muslim, isn't it? I mean, if
Yeah,
you look at political events, and especially in the last 15 years,
yeah,
it's very clearly predicated as anti-Muslim. And isn't the Ayodhya temple, a peace symbol of what the RSS believes as Hindutva to be?
yeah. So that's where the difference comes in. Right? It's very difficult to delineate the faith and the culture of Hinduism, which is why the original definition, which comes from Savarkar,
Mm.
which does not include Muslims or Christians or any other faiths in that.
Yeah.
According to Savarkar, only people who consider this land as their Punya Bhu and Pitra Bhu, which is their sacred holy land as well as their fatherland, can claim this to be their nation. Nobody else can be a part of this nation. So a Muslim automatically gets excluded from that. A Christian automatically gets excluded from that, but not a Buddhist,
Mm.
because Buddhism originated in this land. That's Savarkar's definition. Now, which is why we find it very interesting that that definition is getting slowly expanded, which is what Mohan Bhagwat's recent speech at Vigyan
Yeah.
Bhavan said.
Yes.
There is no Hindu nation or no Hindutva without Muslims.
Mm.
It's a sort of an acknowledgement of the political, socio-political realities of this country today. But that is not the case when the RSS was founded. In fact, the founder Hedgewar
Mm.
uh, considered Muslims as traitors. He said so much. Somebody asked him, you know, how do you the answer to would you consider Muslims as traitors? He said they can't be traitors because traitors are those who betray their nation, and this is not their nation, so they can't be traitors. The same thing continued, and Golwalkar said once that Muslims, Christians, and communists are the biggest threats to this nation.
The
Now
Hindu
that
nation.
the Hindu nation and India in general,
Mm.
and this was overturned in 2018 again at Vigyan Bhavan by Mohan Bhagwat. He said those were ideas which we are reconsidering and rewriting more than reconsidering. We are rewriting those ideas, and one of the RSS ideologues, R. Hari, who is not alive anymore, he said at then that they would replace those words with Islamic fundamentalism and Christian evangelism.
Mm.
So, which is where the exclusion is being nuanced
Mm.
and sort of being reimagined in a way, and to include Muslims and Christians within the Hindu nation. So, their point is that why don't you accept that your forefathers were Hindus and they were converted later? So, you are anyway part of the Hindu nation. Now, interestingly, this was not acceptable to Savarkar,
Mm.
and this was not acceptable to Golwalkar, because they said ki even if you once you convert,
Mm.
it's not only a religious conversion, it's a complete conversion of a person, including the commitment to the nation, the loyalty to the nation, which is why I found it very interesting when Mohan Bhagwat quoted Abul Kalam Azad this time around and said ki even if a person converts his faith or her faith, the person doesn't change her or his nationality. So it's a huge shift away.
How do you explain this shift? Because it seems to be something that Subramaniam Swami has also said, right? No matter what religion you are Hindu, you were born Hindu, and your previous generations have converted.
Yeah,
So it's that thought, isn't it? And what do you attribute this shift in thinking that Mohan Bhagwat, the current chief of the RSS, has been making over the years?
I think there are multiple things in it. One is the political reality, the socio-political reality of this country today and the world today in general. I'll relate a very interesting incident which happened with Vajpayee. A group of Sangh leaders, when Vajpayee was the prime minister, went to him and I said that we'll have to do something about Muslims. We have to take care of this Muslim issue. So after listening to them for a while, and there were people from VHP and other organizations, FL Sangha affiliates and all that, And after listening to them for a few minutes, Vajpayee said, "So what do you expect me to do? You want me to throw the 15 million of 150 million Muslims in this country into the Arabian Sea or what? Is this what you are expecting me to do?" And obviously, there is no answer to that, even for someone from the VHP or something like that. So there is a reality, and so then the question is then uh, a large part of the Sangh, even today, will not accept Muslims as they are or Christians as they are. So they would want an ideal Muslim. To them, an ideal Muslim probably would be someone like a Gita reading, Veena playing, Abdul
Yeah.
Kalam, right? That kind of a person. But every Muslim is not like that. So what do you do? So some of them say, okay, then let them convert back to Hinduism. Ghar Vapsi karo.
Hmm.
That's how the Ghar Vapsi came about. And you would remember around the time when the Modi government first came to power in 2014, 15, in 14, and immediately after that there was this huge uproar about the Ghar Vapsi in Agra, and it was front page headlines everywhere, right? But 2 years ago, or rather last year's annual report of the RSS actually has a number of how many people uh, they did Gharvapsi. So from a point where Gharvapsi becomes a controversy to a point where it is almost normalized. And it's not even nobody even notices that there is actually a statistic here, which they're claiming that they've done. So I think there is at least my analysis is that they are thinking of at the moment this is a reality. There is no point in fighting this reality right now. Maybe there could be other methods of dealing with it. Maybe they are also comfortable. They are also comfortable in their skin today, powerful enough to say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there are so many Muslims in this country. We are in a position of power and influence where we can handle this, or whatever handling means for them.
So the two questions that come up as a result of what you said, one is this comfort in their own skin, and the fact that they are powerful today, that is directly attributed to the electoral success that the BJP has
It is.
experienced for three consecutive terms now. So would talk a little bit about the balance of power and the power equation between these two organizations. What is the equation like between these two organizations? Because the RSS clearly draws its influence and power today from the BJP's electoral success, or is it the other way around?
It works both ways, right? So it's not exclusive, or rather mutually exclusive. It is both ways. It works both ways. The relationship. So let me also explain a structure of the BJP, right? BJP was founded in 1980 and founded with the fundamental principle of Gandhian socialism. It was not, even though Deen Dayal Upadhyay's integral humanism was part of it. Let's go a little bit even further back in time and look at how the Jansangh was formed, or the first forays of RSS into politics. I mean, I would not say the first forays of the RSS into politics, because RSS did involve itself in politics even before that. It was close to the Hindu Mahasabha, even though, and even then, even during Hedgewar's time, the general rule laid down was that RSS as an organization will not participate in elections, but its Swayamsevaks are free to participate. But at the same time, in 1939, when the Hindu Mahasabha held its first convention in, I think it was Kanpur, if I remember right, and Savarkar was there, P.D. Savarkar was there, and at that time, Golwalkar actually contested the elections to the secretary position of secretary in Hindu Mahasabha, and Hindu Mahasabha had become a political party, and he lost that election. He lost the election to Indra Prakash. So there was a history of this tentative steps towards politics, and at uh, pre-independence, there was also this thing that a lot of politicians, whether they were in Congress, whether they were in Hindu Mahasabha, it was all quite fluid, ideologically fluid in some ways. The person who wrote MS Ane, who wrote the preface to Golwalkar's "We or Our Nationhood Defined," was a congressman. Hedgevar was a congressman until his death. He never quit the Congress or anything like that. And Congress was this big tent party, right?
Yeah,
Even when it became a
yeah.
political party, it was a big tent. So practically every political formation in India has come out of the Congress.
mm,
The same goes for post-independence. When Shyam Prasad Mukherjee founded the Jansangh along with the RSS, he had just come out of the Hindu Mahasabha. In fact, there is one mention of a debate between Golwalkar and Shyam Prasad Mukherjee over the use of Hindu Rashtra,
mm,
saying that Hindu Rashtra is Hindu Mahasabha's
mm.
tenet, and Golwalkar seemed to have said that we also believe in the Hindu Rashtra, maybe, but not as stridently as the Hindu Mahasabha does.
Mm.
And there was some sort of an agreement over that. And even when Jansangh was formed, there were a lot of tussle between the RSS and RSS influence on the Jansangh. Uh, After Mukherjee passed away, the next acting president, Mauli Chandra Sharma, actually accused the RSS of trying to influence appointments within the party and all of that. There was major issues between the two. Um, but even then, it was a fact that whether it was Mukherjee or whether it was early on others, they all wanted the cadre which RSS had built up. They had spread quite a lot. They had built up a significant, and imagine this: politics cost money, and here
Yep.
was an organization which was able to build an army of volunteers at a very very low cost, and they were committed, they were loyal, and they would do whatever the leadership ordered. Now it's a tremendous resource for a political party. Even Sardar Patel wanted it. Sardar Patel wanted the RSS to join the Congress, right? And I think at one point of time he had managed to create some kind of agreement in the Congress party, but Nehru sort of torpedoed it. And this continued later as well. After Nehru died, Golwalkar and other RSS leaders are supposed to have tried to get the RSS people into the Congress and met Lal Bahadur Shastri to impress upon him how important it was. But again, it didn't happen. And of course, once Indira Gandhi joined up with the left, it was all downhill for the RSS. In 1980, when BJP was formed, it came out of the remnants of the Jansangh, but it was very distinct from the RSS. Not very distinct, but quite distinct from the RSS ideology. The RSS did not like the fact that Vajpayee pushed through the idea of Gandhian socialism, and socialism was something which they did not want. Gandhian even less so. In 1963 or 64, when Gandhi's name was included in what they called the morning prayers, there was huge opposition to it. It took a lot for them to actually include Gandhi's name in it. So, there is this kind of various contradictory currents which are, which operate in the Sangh Parivar as a whole, and it operated in 1980 also, and which is why the RSS is believed to reportedly had gone with the Congress in the 84 elections,
Hmm.
and which was one of the reasons why BJP was reduced to just 2 seats. Now,
Is
be
there
that as
any? Do you believe that? Is there proof of that
Yeah, to some extent, there is a lot of RSS people have said so.
Hmm. Hmm.
Private in private conversations, they have said so,
Right.
and it's not as if Congress and RSS did not have
Hmm.
some sort of a relationship, because um, even Rajiv Gandhi's time, Rajiv Gandhi had made approaches to the RSS for support, uh, and he had sent an emissary to the RSS leadership in Nagpur. I mean, all those details are there in the book as well.
So, what is the power equation between the BJP and the RSS today? And is the 2024 election where the BJP lost its majority after two consecutive, big majorities, did that have to do something with a power struggle between the two organizations?
Mm. So um, there is certainly ideological affinity. I mean, there's no difference in the ideological framework between the two.
But
Um,
also, sorry, Dinesh, even with Prime Minister Modi and Amit Shah and a lot of people in the BJP today, they are all indoctrinated RSS. They were
Absolutely,
RSS cadres at one point, right? So there cannot
absolutely.
be any ideological divergence because
There is,
whatever they believe, they have learned from the RSS.
yeah. So the question then is that then what is good for the nation,
Hmm.
and what is the framework in which the country should operate?
Hmm.
which means that what are going to be your socio-economic policies.
Hmm.
Now, electoral power is one thing. What do you use that electoral power for is quite
Yeah.
another. That is where the differences have sprouted. Right. So one of the major differences is on economic policy. Now, there is a strong belief in the RSS that the BJP's economic policies are quite neoliberal,
Hmm.
and they favor largely the Western model of development, economic growth,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. And that's not acceptable to them. In fact, the RSS's campaigns in the past, for example, they fought shoulder to shoulder with the left parties, the CPM
Hmm.
and CPI and Forward Bloc and RSP and all of them, uh, to oppose Enron project in Maharashtra.
Hmm.
In fact, that is what got them power in 1995 in Maharashtra.
Hmm.
Even before that, the Dunkel drafts, the GATT agreement, all of them. So there they were all together with the. So this is a fundamental contradiction in the conservative politics in this country, right?
Hmm.
The conservative politicians in this country may be religious, cultural, sort of
Hmm.
right,
Yeah,
but
but
they're all
not
economic
economic,
left.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're more closer to socialist than
Yeah.
a conservative or capitalism or anything like that. Now, uh, Mr. Modi and the way his politics developed in Gujarat,
Hmm.
he was this business-friendly politician, and there have been major fights with RSS in Gujarat while the Mr. Modi was in power there as chief minister. So Modi had a lathi charge, against uh, RSS affiliate procession there, and there were some 200 temples were raised to build roads, and the VHP was up in arms. There were a lot of issues, and there were uh, many people from the RSS actively worked against him there.
Hmm.
In fact, even in 2013,
Hmm.
his candidature was not
Yeah.
sure to be cleared by the RSS.
Yeah.
It was
You
purely,
write about that in detail in your book as well, right? There
yeah,
were a lot of
yeah,
misgivings within the RSS about
yes.
putting forward Mr. Modi as their. Yeah.
Absolutely. But to the chagrin of the leadership,
Hmm.
the cadre was entirely behind Modi. So Modi had become this undisputable Hindu Hriday Samrat.
Hmm.
And since RSS was a Hindu organization, the cadre of the RSS was firmly behind Modi. And there's nothing the leadership could really do about it. And this is something which people acknowledge in private. They say we didn't have a choice at that point of time. And and after that, once BJP came to power, and once the conditions sort of became conducive for the RSS as well, because until then RSS had a very um, confrontational sort of relationship with the Congress party, right? It was not the old Congress where they could do some adjustments and all of that. The UPA too was particularly bad for them. There was, there are a lot of cases against them. In
Yeah.
fact, they feared. One of the reasons why they really participated in the 2014 elections
Hmm.
was that they feared that they might get arrested,
Random.
and they might get arrested, including the top leadership might get arrested in the Hindu terror cases and all of that.
Hmm.
So, which is one of the reasons why they really, went after the Congress Party and the elections of 2014. So, and that's when you saw RSS come to the ground in full strength,
Hmm.
uh, getting involved minutely in election campaign, even door-to-door campaigns.
So you're saying the 2014 election was the first time that we saw the RSS do the kind of electoral ground grassroots work that they have now come to be associated with,
Post-emergency,
right?
immediately after the emergency, they did once, but
Right.
after that, it was sort of a lull.
Hmm.
But 2000, so until then, it was the RSS was supporting, or rather, RSS. So the Enron struggle, for instance, take that as an example. The RSS fully supported that initially,
Hmm.
but once the government came to power, it sort of withdrew from the support. And the people who had led that support from the RSS side were jailed, and there was a person called Surendra Tatte who died quite a broken man because of this. I had met him at that time, and he was saying, the leaders in the RSS would not even meet me at that time when I was in jail and after I came out, because they said we don't want anything to do with that struggle anymore. So in some ways they thought it was the cadre which was on the ground thought it was betrayed by the leadership there. So and and then again the 13-day Vajpayee government gave a counter guarantee to it,
Yeah.
which was again everybody was like quite flabbergasted. Why did this happen? It's not that the leadership was entirely sort of agreeable to that, but they thought of it as some sort of a compromise they had to make because there was this government which was considered their own in power. And then after that, you would have seen the split that happened and the kind of vitriol, or rather the venom between the two, which culminated in sort of this famous interview which Sudarshan gave to Shekhar Gupta
Mm,
in the Walk the Talk, where he called Advani and Vajpayee quite useless and
mm,
held Indira Gandhi up as the best prime minister India had. In fact, even before that, the Topan Thegde, one of the RSS leaders, had said at a press conference that I think he called Vajpayee a Nikamma prime minister.
mm, mm.
So there have been this, and that was again on economic policy, economic
Right.
what the economic policy should be.
Right. So at this point of time between these two organizations, it is the BJP which is calling the shots. Would it be fair to come to that assessment?
I mean, it depends upon what you mean by calling the shots and where, in what area. I mean, ultimately, BJP is the party in power, right?
Yes.
It is the
Hmm.
government. It
Hmm.
runs the government. So if you're running the government, the real power really lies there,
Hmm.
irrespective of whatever anybody wants to say. Even if
Hmm.
Mohan Bhagwat wants to say that no, please do this, please do that, it's
Hmm.
ultimately up to
Hmm.
PM Modi and his cabinet to do that.
Hmm.
And whatever lawmaking you want to do has to go through parliament. How much ever there might be skews and all kinds of
Still,
machinations happen
yeah.
there, but it still has to go through parliament. We are still a democracy, and
Yeah.
free democracy,
Hmm.
so to say. So
Hmm.
that is there. Uh, so I don't think it's as easy or as it is made out to be, or as black and white or binary as it is made out to
Hmm.
be. It is not.
Hmm.
It's more complicated than that.
Sure.
For example, the education policy. It
Hmm.
took so
Hmm.
many years for them to get it through,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's not easy at all, and there are compulsions which a government also has.
Hmm.
I mean, the RSS can come, or the RSS might have a view that United Nations is not, sorry, the United States is not a country which you should be really friends with.
Hmm.
But once you're in government,
Yeah.
it's not something. It's not a view you can hold, or you cannot say that no, you are not going to allow foreign companies into this country.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's much more complicated than that, and they try to nuance it when they say Swadeshi. They say that we are not opposed to FDI, but we would only allow FDI which is beneficial for this country, or wherever it is we don't have the expertise, we will allow that. That's not how business works. So to some extent, those kind of things are also impractical,
Hmm.
and that is where the tension comes up between the
Right.
government and the RSS as well.
So, what would be the points of tension today between the two organizations?
Swadeshi is a major point, that why, even though the government does say that it's promoting Swadeshi and it wants Atmanirbhar Bharat and all that,
Yeah.
uh, the RSS feels on the ground it's not happening.
Mm.
That it's still skewed towards big business and foreign companies. And why do you ask foreign companies to come and make here? You know, and why is it that we are opening up all sectors?
Mm.
It still believes that it is the policies which the government follows is willy-nilly neoliberal policies. It's hardly any different from the previous Congress governments. So it's not done enough on for labor.
Mm.
It's not done enough for the environment.
Mm.
There is quite a lot of heartburn about building in the Himalayas, which they consider sacred.
Mm.
It is sacred, obviously. Himalayas are, in whichever way you look at it, Himalayas are sacred, and you can see what's going on there.
The
Uh,
environmental consequences are
Absolutely.
headlines
Yes.
every day.
Yes, absolutely. So there are those issues. So there are multiple issues where the government's economic policies are not really
Mm.
kosher to the RSS.
Mm. But the social policies, the this complete targeting of the Muslim community, of minorities in this country, that must be finding favor with the RSS. So what I'm trying to get at is that economically, you're saying that the RSS has a lot of issues with the BJP, but socially, is does it feel that the BJP is delivering on its Hindu Rashtra and the Hindu civilizational project?
So the RSS's view from what I have seen is that it doesn't matter. I mean, this might not be the best of governments,
Hmm.
but this is the most conducive government we can get.
Hmm.
Imagine what will happen if another formation comes to power. Then we won't be able to operate in any way. If a Congress government comes to power, or a completely a government which completely opposes us comes to power, then what do you do? So this is the best we can get right now. So we will have to live with it. Now there is also a view, and I believe in the recent last meeting, which was the coordination meeting, which was held in Jodhpur. I believe the RSS has decided that we will pursue our way, what we had thought of our plan unwaveringly, and other organizations within the parivar will have to fall in line. Now, how does that play out? We'll have to wait and see.
What is this vision that they want to pursue unwaveringly now in 2025 as they turn 100 years old or complete 100 years of existence?
So, what they consider as Hindu values, and which follows dharma, and dharma, um, then it becomes a little more complicated, right? What is dharma? Who's dharma? What dharma? Like, uh, what is Raj dharma? What is Pitra dharma? What is all kinds of complications are in play there. But in general, what they consider as philosophically, culturally Hindu should be pursued, and other sort of influences should not be allowed to contaminate it in any way. And we should be so. For example, uh, yoga. One of the biggest victories they thought they had was getting a yoga day, a World Yoga Day celebrated. It's supposed it's meant to be acknowledgement of a particularly Hindu value, a value which is neutral. It is not something uh,
Yeah.
which belongs only to one faith, but it's a very culturally neutral value which everybody can follow in the world, and eventually that is what we will do in all kinds of thoughts. We will lead globally, and that's where your Vishwaguru comes in. That we will be the intellectual leaders of the world.
So when you talk about the Vishwaguru concept and being the intellectual thought leader for providing thought leadership to the world, should we use, if we use that to assess the foreign policy of the BJP government, which draws its intellectual, moral backing from the RSS, how would you evaluate the foreign policy, or how does the RSS evaluate the BJP's foreign policy in the past 15 years, and especially at a time when we seem to be so much on the back foot when it comes to the way America and President Donald Trump is treating us?
So RSS itself doesn't really have a foreign policy, so to say. You know, in a not something which has been articulated or formulated in terms of a policy. The general view is that uh, the government knows best. They have the most information, so it is best left to them. There might be compulsions which are global. There might be compulsions which are bilateral or multilateral, and we are not the best judges to do that. But having said that, historically, historically, RSS has believed that India is a staging ground for big power tussle. For whether it is the Soviet Union, whether it is the US, that India is a staging ground for it. And other countries which are inimical to us, say Pakistan, and these countries use Pakistan as a sort of tool to work against India. And they said this particularly about the US. Also believe that they have in several resolutions stated so in so many words that consider China as the biggest foe, a country uh, which cannot be trusted at all, and Pakistan is absolutely untrustworthy, and we should even not talk to them. Ideally, at some point of time, it would probably they to the RS, probably the ideal thing would be to crush Pakistan in some ways, and show the muscular Indian Hindu nation. Um, Clearly, these are not really practical, right? So there are compulsions which the government has, and international diplomacy doesn't work like that. I don't think there is any coaching from the RSS side what should be done on foreign policy. That is left to the government. But also because someone like Ajit Doval is a hero in the RSS. So it would be left to him. That someone who has fought Pakistan, somebody who has been this super spy and all
Mm,
of it. So he's a sort of a hero. So he would do the best in national interests is generally the thought process. Because see, Ajit Doval also headed the Vivekananda International Foundation, right, which is an affiliate of not an affiliate but associated with the same ideology.
let's talk about the RSS from the context of the Muslims, because you are talking about how Mr. Mohan Bhagwat is trying to be more inclusive in a way, and yet we do see the victimization of the Muslim community in this country, and very clearly so in the past 10-15 years. What is the thinking on the Muslim community at this point of time, given that you are saying that there is a sense of trying to say that this Hindu Rashtra is not about religion, it sort of supersedes religion, and yet you have anybody who professes another faith not being treated as equal. I mean, that's becoming very, very clear to everybody in this country.
In opposing Muslims, isn't it? One thing is that which Mohan Bhagwat still talks about is a demographic imbalance. So what they believe is that if there is a certain number of Muslims in this country, then the danger of this country being partitioned again is quite high. And then that number they put it somewhere around 20 to 25%. So the demographic imbalance which he keeps talking about, even when in the same speech he said that, that there should be a demographic balance. One thing becoming too big is not really great for the country's unity. So
But
that is,
Dinesh,
sorry,
is that factually borne out anymore?
no,
We do know about the facts of
it
the
is
falling
not.
birth rate among the Muslim
Yes,
community. We
yes.
know the overall percentage. So why is this fear being drummed up, and this fear psychosis, if it is not grounded in fact or reality today?
Yeah, so which is what he pointed out again. He said that we are coming closer to a demographic, expansion, which is not necessarily as stark as it used to be earlier.
Hmm.
But still, they say that no, in the northern parts of the country, it's not so. In the northern parts of the country, in many places, it's skewed.
Hmm.
So the belief is that, I mean, we can only say that their belief is this, right? No, that it is somehow dangerous. It's still dangerous. And it goes back to a research paper which this organization called the Center for Policy Studies, which is an RSS, close to the RSS organization, which did in somewhere in 2003, 2004, immediately after the 2001 census, which sort of projected an arc, starting from Pakistan and northern India and going all the way to Bangladesh, saying
Hmm.
that the non-Muslim religionists would be in a minority,
Hmm.
and by 2050.
Hmm.
So this is the sort of uh, target fear date, 2050. By the time this would happen, and that is very dangerous to this country.
Right.
So
But maybe one way to address that would be to actually conduct a census, isn't it?
it is,
Which
it
has
is.
been which is in abeyance, and for how long now?
Yeah, it's been
So
6 years. It should have been done in 2021.
exactly. So that's the. I mean, it makes you. It begs the questions. Then are these just self-serving arguments, or is there,
To
you
some
know?
extent, they are. To some extent, they are. Like I said, there are socio-political realities in this country today you cannot ignore.
Yes.
And there is another history also. Until 2013, so the first time the RSS had something called a Muslim Rashtriya Manch was formed by Sudarshan, who
Hmm.
was the RSS chief. Then it was in
Yeah.
2002.
Hmm.
In 2013, before the Lok Sabha elections, 2012-13, sometime around that time, I think it was the RSS Akhil Bharatiya Pratnidhi Sabha was being held, and just before, in the lead up to that thing, there was a larger meeting which was
Hmm.
in which the only one question was sort of asked, which is what do we do with Muslims or about Muslims? So and then they split into groups and they discussed and decided and all of that, and finally came up with this thing, okay, we need to engage with the community and explain to them what we are and what we want from them,
mm,
and at a very high level. So then they started in 2013 this high level engagement with Muslim leaders in practically every city and every village and every township and all of that. What has been the result of that? I am unable to say today because we don't see it reflected in
yeah.
a serious manner. But it started in 2013, and I know that they've been doing it. They're doing it consistently. They've been meeting people.
Sure, but Dinesh, for someone like me who's not a typical political journalist and
Mm.
definitely I haven't started my career in covering politics, but it seems to me if you say that there is no foreign policy idea, or a belief, or if there is an economic belief which is close to what we have already seen in this country traditionally from the other parties, then the only thing that makes the RSS stand out is the fact that this Hindu Rashtra is based on predicated on the fact that you don't want Muslims to be equal. Or am I just being very simplistic? Because I don't see
Uh,
anything else that marks out this organization, then, isn't it?
I should explain another objective of the RSS. See, the RSS objective is not to be another organization in society. What
Hmm.
it wants to is convert every single Indian, every single person in this country to its ideology.
Hmm.
Right. It wants, so Headkevar's vision was that you would convert about 2% of urban leadership
Hmm.
and 3% of rural leadership into RSS, or
Hmm.
rather, RSS would provide this leadership.
Hmm. Hmm.
And once that is done, RSS
Hmm.
can probably dissolve or wither
Hmm.
away. This was the idea.
Hmm.
Now, naturally, that has not happened. So, the last
Well,
count, which,
yeah, I mean, how will it happen? They're leaving women out. Look at the organization.
yeah,
You mentioned. I think there are six chiefs that the RSS has had. I think barring one, all of them are Brahmins or have been Brahmins. All of them
yeah,
were
Rajendra Singh was a
yeah.
Thakur.
So barring Rajendra Singh, I think everybody else is or was
Yeah.
Brahmin. Okay, they're all men, so there are no women in this organization. We know about that. There are no Muslims, even though there has been some outreach and some effort to include them. So I don't know how all these upper caste Brahmin men will reach out to the Dalits and the other castes in this country. So what is this organization then actually? Is it just for men and Hindi speaking men? Because many of these RSS chiefs are Marathi speaking actually, but the primacy has been to Hindi. So populous states take Hindi, take men and Hindu men, and create a nation and a society in this image.
So let's put it this way. Uh, the idea that you have to be present in all walks of life,
Hmm.
which is why you don't need to have an economic policy or you don't need to have a foreign policy.
Hmm.
Because if you are in all walks of life, there will be enough foreign policy practitioners and enough
Yeah.
politicians, there are enough engineers, there will be enough teachers who will subscribe to your ideology and act
Yes.
accordingly, right? So you really don't need expertise for that. All you need is people who subscribe to your ideology.
Hmm.
Now, once there are people who subscribe to your ideology, which also means there are a set of things which you would want in this country to develop as a Hindu nation, right, or evolve into a Hindu nation. Why? Though I must say that they say that it's already a Hindu nation and it's always will be.
Yeah.
But whatever the imagined nation is or structure of the nation is, and these people will carry it out for them,
Hmm.
right? That's the idea. And this includes women as well. Women might not be there in the main structure, but there are enough women subscribing to the ideology. That is enough for them.
Hmm.
And outside the country, for instance, where there's the Hindustan Seva Sangh, it's a
Yeah.
mixed one.
Yeah.
It's a mixed one. It doesn't have the prayer is different and all of those things are different. So they really understand that it doesn't work there.
Hmm.
But since it started off as an organization like this,
Hmm.
and there is a Rashtriya Swayamsevak Samiti and all that, and
Hmm.
mind you, there is a major training going on of women,
Hmm.
not necessarily within the organization, but there is a conscious effort going on to train a sort of army of women in the completely, steeped in Sangh ideology.
Hmm.
You remember the 10% reservation is deferred for 10 years.
Yeah.
So by the time the 10 years, there will be a army of women ready
Who
who will
can
find.
contest for,
I mean,
who
it's
can
not only
contest?
elections. It's not only
Yeah.
elections
Yeah.
everywhere. If this is the direction in which society is going, that there should be more participation of women in particular area, then we should have enough women who are trained in that area with our ideologies to be there. So, which means that you have enough ideological penetration throughout the country.
Mr. Mohan Bhagwat says that now women should have 3 children. How did that go down with women? I wonder, because I don't
No,
think it.
absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So, see, this is the problem, right? I mean, in fact, I had written a piece when he made his statement in which I had said, no, Pracharak should be the one talking about this, who is supposed to be celibate, right? So,
Yeah.
the point is, um, there are a lot of things going on,
Yeah.
and a lot of things going on, a lot of things going on in multiple places, multiple projects. So the Seva Bharati alone has some 150 160,000, close to 200,000 now
Hmm.
projects going on, right? All of these are run by people individually, sometimes some charity, sometimes some trust or something like this, and there are all other kinds of projects also going on. So there is a project which is called Indic Knowledge Project,
Hmm.
heavily
Yeah.
funded, heavily done, all that.
Hmm.
That's going on, and that is not the old one, which was the some of the organizations had this thing about the plastic surgery was done in
Yes.
that. It's not that kind of one. This is more creating literature, research oriented literature, which sort of backs up many of the
Hmm.
uh, practices and other kind of uh,
Hmm.
beliefs, so-called beliefs, or even rooted in Vedas
Hmm.
or whatever it is, right? So they do feel that there is a lack of uh, literature as well as intellectual depth
Hmm.
when you argue. And the thing is that,
Hmm.
so one of the leaders told me, Vaski, we might be electorally powerful, we might be there, all of these things, but the left still has the intellectual edge over us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are not able to do anything about it. So we will be setting up think tanks, we will be doing this, we will be doing that, and that's happening. So there are multiple projects going on in multiple places. So it
Hmm.
is not anymore. And RSS itself,
Hmm.
the leaders might say something. That doesn't mean the cadres might act exactly the same way. So some of the Muslim question which you're talking about. So Mohan Bhagwat said the RSS has decided it won't participate in Kashi or Mathura,
Yeah.
but the Swayamsevaks are free to do it,
Yeah.
right? So if the Swayamsevaks are doing it, free to do it, what does that even mean, right? And
It,
this has been the RSS right from the beginning.
but isn't it also a sign of hypocrisy? You're saying something, but your followers are free to do something else, but you're also such a disciplined organization. So then these are such contradictions which don't seem, I mean, they really seem to be hypocritical, isn't it? Or, or
RSS
just.
RSS is an organization which is full of contradictions.
Hmm.
There's no doubts about that. There are a lot of contradictions. In fact, what I marvel at is that it has managed to, or rather, it has managed these contradictions for 100 years and managed to survive with it.
Dinesh, one final question. 100 years later, how much do you think the RSS would say it has accomplished of its agenda or vision?
Now, RSS itself is, the organization itself is struggling to keep itself together in some ways. I must say this. You could say struggling to keep itself together in the sense that uh, there are a lot of uh, contradictions, again contradictions within, where people are not happy about the way they go about let's say and take environment. Not everybody wants to go back to tradition, right? Not everybody wants, especially the young people. They are more they are closer towards Narendra Modi's brand of politics. And so one person actually, this might probably explain it better. He made a very caustic statement. He said that new pracharaks which were coming out in the RSS, their dream is not to become the Sarsang Chalak. Their dream is to become PM Modi. So that sort of explains it what it is. And they're all interested in politics. They want, and power is something which interests
They
people.
want real
Real
power,
power,
right?
real
Yeah.
power. It's not moral power they want. RSS stresses on morality,
Mm.
and doing things principled and all of those things, whatever they might be, within their thing. but then that's not uh, young people even want to pursue. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no more really what do you call, unselfish, loyal,
Hmm.
without any rewards sort of work left anymore.
So that is the challenge for the RSS now
Absolutely a
going
challenge.
forward.
Yeah.
Fascinating, Dinesh. I really must say thank you very much for offering this perspective on the RSS, an organization that is so important and so powerful in India today, and one which, we don't know too much about for whatever reason, historical reasons also, and come to it perhaps with a great degree of. A bias perhaps against it, but whatever it is, we need to know about anybody who has so much influence and power today. So thank you very much for helping us understand the RSS better as it finishes a whole 100 years of existence and dominates so much of Indian political thinking. Thank you, Dinesh.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It was lovely.
And thank you very much for watching. Do remember to subscribe, to like, and to share if you find what we are doing worth your time. Thank you.